to give folks a little bit of time to get in and get situated before Jasmine and I dive in, but we're really excited to see everybody here. While we're waiting, though, I always love hearing where people are based. If you want to throw that information in the chat, I'll be revealing my space and my location in my knowledge graph, so you've got that to look forward to. But really looking forward to hearing from you all. Oh, we've got some Guelphites, New York, beautiful, Vancouver, Victoria, the islands are representing. Sometimes we do wish we were elsewhere, truly. What a range. This is a thrill. Wonderbar. So Jasmine, if you're ready, give me the thumbs up and let's dive into this. Beautiful. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our second industry news and product update webinar. If you have questions during the webinar, please feel free to pop them into the chat. If they're relevant and we can answer them as we're talking, we will. Otherwise, we will be doing a Q&A session at the end. So without further ado, let's dive in. This is a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at in our agenda today. But let me start by introducing myself. So I'm Ruby Ross. I work for Schema App as a Learning and Enablement Customer Success Manager. I studied cognitive science at McGill University, and I live in London. And you'll notice that in my knowledge graph, I've made it very explicit that I mean London, Ontario. I've added the same as URL for the Wikidata page about the city in southwestern Ontario. So this is going to be a theme, making knowledge and connections explicit. This is something that we'll be touching on throughout the presentation. I also have a wonderful colleague, Jasmine, who's going to be co-presenting with me this afternoon, and I'll hand it over to her for an introduction.
Thank you, Ruby. So I also work here at Schema App. I am the product manager here. And I previously attended the University of Guelph where I worked on the Links project. So this was a linked open data project for cultural heritage institutions, meaning I did a lot of work with ontologies and vocabularies and knowledge graphs. I get really excited about stuff in the semantic kind of space. And I'm really looking forward to presenting to you what we've got on the product roadmap here at Schema App. Lots of super exciting semantic stuff on the go. But first, I'm going to let Ruby kind of zoom out for a second so that we can situate this stuff within Schema App's mission and values, just so you have a bit of background.
Thank you very much. So our roadmap is informed by our core purpose and our values. And by sharing our product roadmap, we're really hoping to empower you to provide feedback about how we might improve our tools, our documentation, and your experience working with us. So I really want to reiterate that your success is our success, and your feedback helps us grow. Your collaboration supports our shared goals of building meaningful connections and getting results. And at Schema App, we've always prioritized leveraging schema markup to help machines kind of understand your content. Our focus has been on schema markup the entire time, but the applications or use cases for schema markup have developed and changed over the years. And as an organization, we have grown alongside them, and we are poised and ready for these new applications. As many of you know, Schema App's authoring tools, we map content from any website to the schema.org ontology with a balance of precision and automation. And using schema markup to enable rich results and improve click-through rate is a priority for many of our customers. But since 2023, folks are increasingly excited about using schema markup to pursue success in the evolving field of AI search. And so through the work we do in pursuit of schema markup excellence, this work can actually be repurposed for customers who are interested in developing their content knowledge graphs. And for the skeptics who might say, okay, this is all really interesting, but why are you so passionate about this work? We aren't the only ones highlighting the importance of developing your knowledge graph. At the Gartner Data and Analytics 2024 conference in London, England, the VP analyst at Gartner presented at the top 10 trends in data integration and engineering. And trend number 6 was to add semantic data integration and knowledge graphs. And the text on this slide might be a little bit tricky to read, but I really want to draw your attention to the third bullet point. W3 standards such as RDF, OWL, and Sparkle enable your data to speak a common universal language. And we love the recognition of the importance of standardization. At Schema App, we build your knowledge graph using RDF, and your data can be accessed through Sparkle queries. And as AI technologies develop, knowledge graphs really become this critical tool, making sure your data is standardized and able to be used across these different contexts and use cases, bringing us to our product roadmap. And so I'll pass it over to Jasmine to take us through what we've got planned.
Thanks so much, Ruby. So before we get into it, I just kind of want to call attention to the fact that a lot of you have been collaborating with us to identify the use cases where we can leverage your content knowledge graph to really support your content strategy. So we want to be able to help you answer questions like what exists on my website, how much existing content is overlapping with those certain desired topics, and then working together to be able to help you optimize your content using this really great data layer, and ensuring that we're measuring the performance the whole way along. Metrics are really, really important to us. They're really important to you. And we want to make sure that we're able to measure the impact as we go through this journey together. So, how is this showing up in a product roadmap? Well, if you joined us last time, you would have already known that we've kind of split things into an SEO and knowledge graph track, but really these things complement each other. So, in the long term, the knowledge graph work that we're doing right now is going to have a direct impact on your SEO. But in the short to medium term, it's also really going to be supporting content strategy work, which we know is something that's really, really important to people right now, with everything happening with the changes in search, the evolution of AI. Ensuring that you have high quality content is a super important thing, and we're here to help you with that. So we're going to be focusing on the knowledge graph features in this session, and all of these things are coming together in something we're calling the Entity Hub. So, the Entity Hub is a tool that is going to be leveraging your knowledge graph to support content strategy. And it has 4 jobs to be done. We need to identify, manage, report, and action. We have certain features. We've got more features in this, but I'm kind of trying to like narrow the scope because we're excited about a lot of things. But really, OmniLER is one that a lot of you are already leveraging. This is identifying the entities across all of your content. Next, you'll want to be managing those entities. So ensuring there's a human in the loop, curating that data, making sure it's really high quality. We then will support reporting on that so that you can understand location and frequency and coverage of those various entities and the related topics. And then using all of that data for actionable insights to support your content marketing teams. So this is something called Entity Performance Analytics, and we're going to dig into each of these a little bit further. So OmniLER, something many of you probably already have implemented within your highlighter templates if you're using our highlighter. This is a tag that we apply to those templates. It ingests your content, and then it identifies external entities from Wikipedia, Wikidata, and Google's Knowledge Graph and embeds those directly into the schema markup on your page. So immediate positive impact is it supports SEO for the queries related to those entities, but in the kind of bigger picture, it's helping create an even more robust knowledge graph, which then enables even more detailed content analysis. So it's great that these things are returned and it's automatic and it's scalable, but one of the problems with that is that you want to be able to know what's being returned and then manage those things thereafter. So the first step here is the entity reports, and this is something that we already have up in staging. If you are using OmniLER, you've been relying on your CSMs to let you know which entities are being identified on which pages, and we're going to be surfacing these reports to you so that you have access to that information. This will allow you to understand entity coverage and then surface all the entities for you so that you can modify or omit them in the entity manager. So data curation, super, super important. We love when things are automated, but that also means that they're going to introduce inconsistencies or errors. And the entity manager will be a tool for managing the external entities that are returned by OmniLER. If you've used our editor before, you're going to find this interface really familiar because it's a similar kind of form-like structure. But the primary difference here is that it is using SKOS, so the Simple Knowledge Organization System, rather than the Schema.org vocabulary. So we're leveraging a different ontology because it's performing a different function. It's going to allow you to make modifications to labels. You can add alternative labels. So if your organization is using different terminology to refer to the same entity, we'll be able to capture all of that in here. And the outcome of this is much further improved accuracy of that auto tagging so that we can still use these scalable features, but with a much greater degree of precision and increased relevancy of the entities to improve your content analysis as well. Um, Entity performance analytics is a thing that's kind of going to tie all of this together. So this is a tool that will be used for analyzing the SEO performance of your entities and topics. It's going to take all this great work you've done with the entities, pair it with your Google Search Console data, and then give you more insights as to the impact, the SEO impact of adding those entities, and as well help you support your content strategy with really high quality quantitative data. So if you already have Schema Performance Analytics with us, this is something that will be kind of similar, but slicing and dicing your data in a different way. That's digging further into kind of that deep semantic layer that isn't just strictly focused on the performance of those rich results. So I'm going to pass this back to Ruby because all of this is intended to support you in the evolving landscape of AI, and Ruby's done a lot of really great research on this.
Absolutely. And this is an industry that we can all agree that has seen a host of changes over the last 16 months. And in particular, we've been really interested to see how Google is iterating on their AI offerings. And so starting with the release of Bard in February of 2023, Google's generative AI Lambda-powered chatbot, moving into the much discussed search generative experience, and then most recently, AI experiences announced at Google I/O, powered by the most advanced yet multimodal Gemini large language model. And so amidst all these changes, the SEO community is really eager for results and clarity. And so we've summarized a little bit of reporting from Bright Edge, recently released, talking about AI overview with some interesting insights about the frequency of these results. So from the rollout going forward, the frequency of results has actually dropped from about 84% to 15 in May. And then recently, a few days ago, Bright Edge released their June reporting, and this number has actually dropped to about 7% frequency. So Google's focus really seems to be around accuracy and trustworthiness and helpful content. It's actually really reassuring to see them working to follow their own content best practices, namely creating accurate, helpful content for humans. We're going to continue seeing a fair amount of variability between industries in terms of how often AI overviews are populated. But interestingly, although it is a your money or your life category, healthcare queries do appear to be a leading industry in terms of triggering an AI overview result. And in terms of other factors that influence the likelihood of AI overviews, it's interesting to note that these results are more likely to appear for queries where featured snippets are present. Google already uses a fair amount of automation to assess whether content is suitable for a featured snippet. So that's another indication that Google's really focusing on delivering results where they already have some degree of confidence or experience or certainty. Also, question-based queries, so how, why, what, also appear to boost the likelihood of achieving that AI overview. And so while the FAQ-rich result was deprecated last year, content structured as question and answer pairs clearly kind of remain an important data source for search engines. And Amazon released a really interesting paper last year about the value of training chatbot algorithms using those question and answer pairs. So feel free to scan that. That is linked in the slides if that's interesting to you. But in general, we're seeing the quality of answers improve. And we're also seeing AI overviews differentiate themselves from standard SERP results. And Google's really prompting users to start digging into the results that are generated in AI overviews. On a similar topic of learning, Google made a deal earlier this year to partner with Reddit to use their content to train AI models. Around the same time, there was a big surge in frequency for Reddit results in the SERP. And although that's changed, they appear a little less frequently now. If you've seen them, you've got a good sense of how social media posting rich snippets can appear. Google actually recently updated their documentation to clarify that the more general type, so social media posting, is also now eligible for the rich snippet alongside discussion forum. These appearances are commonly found in Google Perspectives or Google discussions and forums. And again, this is part of Google's broader push to use content that is created by real life people to train AI models and bring helpful information to the SERP. And on the topic of training, I'll actually pass it back to Jasmine for a few product updates.
Thank you, Ruby. So again, if you were here last time, you would have heard about our robots only deployment. So we set this up so that you had the ability to control who and what was accessing your structured data. Your content is being crawled all the time, and it's really important to us and to you that you have control over who gets to access it. So you gave us some really great feedback around making improvements to the UI. So we are supporting you to be able to add custom bots here, and you also had questions about common bots that may want to be added here. And we've included a number of them that are actually associated with companies that are crawling your content to train their AI. So you may want them to be crawling your content. You may not want them to be crawling your content. And we're ensuring that you have full control over the customization of that list. So the documentation for just getting that set up is listed here. It's on like a hidden URL. And then we have a separate piece of documentation that just lists some of the common bots. So if you have questions around that, this is a good place to start. Your feedback is something we appreciate so much, and we really, really take it to heart, which is also why we wanted to talk a little bit about deployment monitoring. So deployment monitoring is something that we have set up for your highlighter templates that notifies the customer success team if there are any disruptions to deployment, and also if there are disruptions to your URLs in general, like errors like 404 errors and stuff as well. So this is something that we wanted to surface to you in the app, but it kind of was surfaced in a way that made many small errors seem really significant. So we appreciated your feedback with requesting you just have more detail and context around this. So you've improved the error messaging. There's a button now you can click to show the issue details, and it's going to open the report and take you directly to the report so you can easily identify what's going on, make fixes there if need be, or otherwise, just ignore some of the suggestions if they're not actually pertinent to what you need to be doing for your pages. So thank you again for the feedback. Keep it coming. We love to have it. And on the topic of like learning and iterating, I'm going to pass it back to Ruby to talk about some of the positive and shenanigan-y decisions that Google has been making with regards specifically to the product rich results. So back to you, Ruby.
Much appreciated. So there have been some really interesting and exciting changes in the e-commerce world. One really exciting change is that there's the introduction of an organization level return policy. So previously we had to specify in the product what the return policy was. Now you can specify that at the organization level and have that trickle down. Again, clearly Google's working to kind of improve their understanding of the relationship between a product and the brands and organizations that offer those products. We're also seeing some changes. Google Search Console is now offering some reporting visibility into how merchant listings in image search are performing. Previously, you could really only track merchant listings for web search. So again, as the number of surfaces and diversity kind of expand, we're getting visibility into how things are performing in this world. Not everything has been really smooth sailing, though, in the world of e-commerce. So the complexity of product documentation has increased. This is reflected in Google changing and breaking out their merchant listing, product snippets, and product variant documentation onto separate pages. We monitor for changes in Google's documentation. So anytime there is an update, we update our in-app rules and suggestions to kind of follow suit. There also was a reporting bug in May where Google Search Console was over-reporting for results in product snippets. The issue is resolved as of May 27th, but it's still a little unclear the extent to which it impacted clicks and impressions. So in general, we're advising folks to treat the data from this time period with a little bit of caution. Another really fun change and innovation that's been happening. So when the product variant result rolled out, Google's guidelines, if you were to follow them exactly, would result in your individual variants being eligible, but not your parent level product group. And so this is actually addressed in June of this year, meaning that as a result, pages marked up with product group can now be eligible for the specific merchant center listings and also that general product snippet. And this is actually a great place to mention some of the Shopify improvements that we have made recently.
So, if you're using our Shopify plugin, we try to be as ahead of the game as possible when it comes to incorporating Google's changes, especially with regards to products. I mean, the e-commerce space is huge. We want to be able to support you to the best of our ability. So, you are automatically going to get product variant markup added to your Shopify sites if you've got product groups. We were almost faster than Google was at getting their act together around this, but we had everything ready to go within our app while they kind of sorted out the reporting stuff on their end. And then we've also incorporated another request of yours, which was to add custom meta fields and being able to map those to additional properties within your product markup. So ensuring that you have as much control as possible over generating really, really robust markup in a scalable fashion. So again, keep the feedback coming. We really, really appreciate it. And we're always looking for opportunities to be able to improve our tools to support you with your needs. So resources. Ruby has been deep in developing more and more resources, and I know she's really excited to take you through those.
Absolutely. So excited that I can't help myself. I just want to click ahead and show you what they are. So as mentioned earlier, one of our values really is growth mindset. And as we learn, we really want to capture our learning and share it with the rest of you, our broader community. And so any of these that kind of catch your attention, I highly recommend reading through them. There's some really kind of interesting notes about the complexity of different websites and how you can tailor your schema markup strategy to those particular resources. Hopefully we're going to see some links, and as always, the slides are going to be shared as a PDF, so you'll be able to click through as needed. Oh, incredible. There's a big list of links for us all to look through. We also are working on our best practices. So anytime that we have something that's new in terms of a good process to follow or a piece of documentation changing in the tools, we're always looking to update that. If you have ideas or suggestions about support articles you want to see, please reach out to us at support@schemaapp.com, and we'll be happy to kind of add and adjust as we go along. Finally, we're on a mission to really enable the world in terms of using schema markup. And part of that is comprehensive asynchronous training. Every employee at Schema App takes these courses as part of their onboarding process. And we really encourage you and your team to take these courses and further your understanding. In particular, if anything that Jasmine has talked about with regards to content knowledge graphs and entity markup, if that's intriguing to you, I recommend the Content Knowledge Graph Fundamentals course. It will introduce you to the terms, concepts, and steps required to build a knowledge graph using the schema markup from your website. And you can find this course and the others on training.schemaapp.com alongside the other courses on our markup and Schema App's tools.
Amazing. I feel like we're running through this stuff so quickly, but that just means more room for Q&A, which we also love. Because did I mention it yet? We love getting feedback from you. So if you wouldn't mind staying on this link once the call actually ends, you're going to be sent to a little survey that you can fill out to let us know if there's other stuff you'd like to see or ways that we can change and improve this particular webinar for you. But we're also interested in hearing from you just in general. If you'd like to sign up to become a lead user, that means that as we're kind of rolling out these new features, you'll be able to access things that are in beta. You'll be able to provide feedback that will help shape those tools and features as they're coming out. And even if you just have suggestions of things that you would like to be able to do within your content, we're really interested in further exploring the relationship between schema, structured data, schema.org, and how that harnesses, like it's building this incredible graph that shows all of the content across your website. And it means that you've got this wickedly rich data layer that can be used for so many different things. So we're just scratching the surface of what this can do. And if there's other ideas that you have or other things you'd like to see, let us know in whatever capacity works for you. We've got a link there as well to sign up to become a lead user. We'd love to hear from you. So this brings us to the Q&A session. We did have one question from John around adding custom bots and if we had recommendations around bots. It looks like you got some documentation linked to already, but just to call out a couple of the common ones that people have asked us about, GPT bot, Perplexity bot, and Diffbot. I think Cohere AI has one as well, and that's kind of like a living list. So as people are bringing others to our attention or we're finding others, that's going to be added to our documentation there as well. We have another question from Ashley. How have you been tracking results for AI overviews? It's probably a good question for Ruby.
Absolutely. I'm happy to take this one. So there's a few different things. We're always going to be working with our clients to kind of find out what reporting strategies you're already using to document return on investment for yourself or for your other stakeholders involved. So that's going to be one piece if you have kind of any reporting tools like BrightEdge, for example, that would be something we use. Otherwise, if that's not something you have access to, what we recommend is actually digging in and doing a little bit of manual query research. So some of the suggestions that we mentioned earlier about what queries are more likely to trigger an AI overview, playing around with those and digging through your existing queries and seeing if there are any that might kind of align with those recommendations is probably where I would start. I also recommend kind of taking screenshots and documenting time by time, like when you're doing this research, seeing if anything changes or adjusts over time. Time-based kind of reporting is always highly recommended, especially if you're starting an initiative or really launching a volume of schema markup being deployed to your site.
Amazing. I'm not seeing any other questions come through. So if that's it, you can always contact us at support@schemaapp.com if you have additional questions, whether it's about the industry at large and what we're seeing there or specific things about our tools. We've got lots of resources available to you. We've got great documentation, great blog posts, lots to be able to support you on the learning journey. And reach out to be a lead user, please. We would love that so much. And again, please fill out the survey at the end of this session. We'd love to hear back just about kind of the formatting of this as well, because it's only your second time doing it. So we're happy to continue to iterate to get you what you need.
And yes, Beverly, the slide deck is going to be downloadable as a PDF. That'll be shared as well. So you'll have access to the links. Do not worry.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Take good care.